What's up, Dunwoody? Welcome back. If you're new to the show, my name is Matt Weber. Couple calls to action. I'm a real estate agent. That's why I do this show, to meet people. So if you're interested or you know somebody that wants to buy, sell, or rent, right, Stacey?
That's
Little
right.
plug. Give me a call. And then the most important part is our sponsor is Village Orthodontics. Dr. Brett Friedman with Village Orthodontics. If you're got a busted grill or your kids need some work, hit him up. He's best around. Do you know Village Orthodontics, Stacey?
Well, I do not know Village Orthodontics.
You got to know Brett.
I do know right next door to Brett would be Dr. Ashley Starnes at Holds.
Okay.
And she's phenomenal. My daughter's actually going to see her.
There you go.
This is for dentistry, so they're not competing.
And the whole tooth gets a plug, too. Yeah.
That's right. Go whole tooth.
Yeah.
They'll actually be on our December cover, too.
Oh, really? There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, that works out
We
well.
weaved that right in there.
Sure.
So Stacey Risley, she is with Dunwoody Neighbors magazine and North Buckhead Neighbors. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
And she is here because she has kind of put this little positive spin on media in Dunwoody, which is kind of rare. There's like me and Audra with the AHA Connection. And then other than that, it's like a couple newspapers that have the good and the bad news, right? So we're going to stay positive, and this little magazine that you put together, which is, what is it? Best Version Media is who you're working with?
So yes, I work alongside them. I'm an independent business owner, of these two publications, but Best Version Media is the publication company that I work through to get these published. So yeah,
Okay.
just even
And they've got it all lined up. It was like an assembly line. They just knocked everything out, and it was a cool process. I was not expecting it.
it really is. Yeah, because your family, as you know, are on the cover of
Yeah, we got
our current issue.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Yeah.
Pretty cool. Let me say, my
Beautiful
7-year-old,
family you have there.
this little 7-year-old here thinks that this is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm on a magazine cover.
Yeah.
So I need to send it with him to school one day.
I know. Well, last month we featured Elise Edie and her family, and she's on, Good Day Atlanta, and she told me a story while I was on set with her during one of the breaks. She says, "Stacey, the funniest thing happened." She was like, "I was at Academy Sports in Dunwoody, and we were just killing time waiting for our next event. And I had the kids with me, and some man I'd never seen before comes up to me and is like, 'Hey, you were on the cover of the Dunwoody magazine.'" And she was like, she didn't know me from, being a morning host
Yeah.
a solo host for Good Day Atlanta. Didn't know me from TV, knew me because our family was on the cover of Dunwoody. So that was the neatest story.
Well, these magazines, and they stick around too. They're going to sit on people's tables for at least a few months.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a really cool. It's a cool thing. I think it's really neat. I think you're going to do pretty well with it here. So who else has been on the cover?
Well, so we just launched in May of this year. So I actually started with the Buckhead publication. And then when I moved to Dunwoody at the end of last summer and realized what just a hidden gem really this community is. My Buckhead publication I love. It's a great publication. Worked hard on that, but the community isn't quite as cohesive, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In Dunwoody, everyone's just pro Dunwoody. That's what I've just found. Like everybody, the competition doesn't seem to be there, and there's just nothing divisive about it. And our publications really, even just Best Version Media, the name screams positivity. We stay away from politics or any divisive issues in our publications, and just share the good news and happenings that are going on in the community. And so in Buckhead, it's a little bit harder because there are some divisive issues. Do they want to become a Buckhead city, or do they want to? There's just other stuff going on that's not happening in Dunwoody. And so I was really excited to launch. And so far we've had 6 issues, I guess. So this would be I think you are on our 7th, but we featured Lisa Torres and her family. We have featured Dr. Jason Kaplan and his family. put me on the spot. We have featured, of course, Elise Edie and her family, who are Dunwoody residents.
And that was a cool one because you ended up on Good Day Atlanta too, right?
Yeah, that was super fun. And we did the photo shoot at the Dunwoody Butterfly Festival. And
okay.
Yeah, and she invited me. She was just, being in the industry, she realizes how much, there is just a lot of negative news out there, and plenty of outlets for that negativity. I think we all have plenty of that. But what she was, once I reached out to her to be featured, she was just really struck by the whole, she just loved the whole business model, really, felt like this was just something that was really needed in the community. And so she invited me to be on air to talk about, how we try to strengthen communities just by, introducing them to their neighbors, reading the story about you and your family this month. People will get to feel like they know not just you as the podcast guy.
Yeah, it was a family thing. And that's what...
But now they're going to know your family and your star children.
Well, so when I was, I was like filling out the forms, and this is going to sound bad, but Sasha was like, can we get involved? I think she wants it more of like a lifestyle piece. And I was like talking about the podcast and like all the things that I do around Dunwoody and the parade. And I had all these different things that I was excited about talking about. And then I was like, you're right. This is a family thing. Obviously I was already talking about Sasha, but I brought the kids in on it. And,
right.
There's a cool lifestyle in Dunwoody, and, there's a lot of people to show off. And that's why I started this podcast, because it was really easy to find positivity around town and just kind of block out the negativity. Right.
And if not even to like sweep the negativity under the rug, just that there still are outlets for that. That's just not us.
Right.
It's just not us. And everyone's been just so welcoming and, and inviting. It's just, we've partnered with the city of Dunwoody and Jennifer Betcher, the city, huge shout out to her. She's amazing and has, contributed content to every issue that we've done.
She's awesome.
She really is. Just, and everybody I've worked with,
And Discover Dunwoody took you in. I mean, you really...
Discovered
it's probably... I mean, that alone is probably different than North Buckhead, that the city wants to help you out,
It absolutely is. Now, I have different organizations in the Buckhead area that I partner with, like, Chastain Park and Chastain Horse Park, some different, but they're not like the city of Dunwoody,
Right.
So
and they kind of did the same thing with me, too. As Jennifer's like, however we can help you, sometimes we would do the podcast at City Hall, and, they really do want to help you out and like get the word out. So that's cool.
I mean, they have always been just so gracious, and I've been thrilled to work with them. And
you're also providing like an amazing service for local businesses with the advertising. I mean, it's a way to get their services. My buddy Chris Conway with Conway Law, he's a good friend of ours, and
I didn't realize that everyone is.
Yeah, so stuff. I watched the Georgia game at his house a couple days ago, or a week ago. But yeah, I mean, it's a way for them to get their services, the word out about their services to just Dunwoody people, because this is going just to Dunwoody homes.
Yes, it's very hyper local, and that's been
for sure
huge appeal to it. I've got I have an expert contributor that's a State Farm agent, one that's in Dunwoody, but I also have a separate State Farm agent who is, in the Buckhead magazine. So this is mostly it's like smaller businesses in the community. Chris Conway's a good example with Conway Law. He in your issue, actually, the issue that's out right now, he has an expert contributor piece, titled 4 C's for Car Wrecks, on things to do. To help our readers know if you're ever in a car accident, these are the things you need to do. So
yeah, and it's providing a little bit of value too. It's not just use my service,
right. And that's what the expert piece is. They're not allowed to use my service,
right.
My service. They are, it's not self-promoting. It's just an opportunity. It's a great platform for them to share their expertise in any given area. I think in the issue that we have with you, I think we have 3 expert pieces experts that have contributed content. They're also our sponsors. So and we're funded completely off sponsorships.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. So a lot of people think of sponsorships and they think of sponsoring the local sports teams or Relay for Life or Run for the Cure. Think of sponsoring those types of things, and instead, in our case, you're sponsoring the publication itself because it's free to the people who receive it. It's a full glossy color magazine that's all about Dunwoody, and so you're paying to sponsor that publication. We have and
it's definitely classy, and I like it how you don't find it in Kroger, you don't find it in a rack at a hair salon. Like it's mailed out to the Dunwoody residents, so they're actually getting it.
Right.
And is it mostly northern Dunwoody to down to lower center?
It's kind of like central. So like the village is kind of the central hub, and then it kind of goes northwest from the village, and then kind of south and southeast from there. So it goes to approximately 3,200 homes. Oh
wow!
And then we're looking at potentially we have to have the sponsorships to support the kind of growth, but we want to add neighborhoods.
Okay. Well, we'll help you get there. Yeah. There's going to be a few hundred people that watch
that.
This,
That would be
not
great.
Thousands. But.
You can never make everybody happy. There's so many people have reached out saying, well, I don't get this magazine. Where can I get it? And you were just saying you love that it's not in Starbucks. Then I have a handful of people saying,
I wish it was in Starbucks.
Where can I find a copy of this? Where do you have these locally? And so I'm trying to kind of work through that and figure out what the best way, maybe have a few central spots to leave copies, for people that want to read them, because we can't have just everybody on there yet. Mailing list yet.
Maybe one Starbucks where you sit in there and you hand them out.
There you go. You may have one. Are you going to read it multiple times?
Yeah. And so I think it's really funny that you've got this family on the cover this month, and then who's going to be on the cover next month?
So next month is so next.
Are you allowed to talk about this?
December is the Starnes. It's Dr. Ashley Starnes and her family are going to be December. That's the one who is right next to Village Orthodontic.
Okay, so she's got all the pressure.
She has the yeah. She's like, oh great, I get to be in between the Webbers.
I'm in pressure on the other side. So who's going to be January?
We have Elise Edie's family. We have the Webbers, and then us, and then our January family, and this is going to be not just for my 2 publications, but I am working with Best Version Media so that this can be offered to all publications. We have actually 1,150 publications across the country. So, but Best Version Media, we're working with them so that our January feature can be offered to all publishers, and it is MLK the third and his family. He and his wife and their 14-year-old daughter they live in Buckhead, and much like when we did Elise's family, we did them on both because he's their family is such a public family, such a spotlight. But we are honored to be featuring them in January to coincide with
that's really cool.
MLK Day. So it really is exciting. Very exciting.
And I bet all the other best version around the country look at you like you did it.
I know,
that's they're Buckhead. Yeah. They get to feed off of that.
That was a lot of work to get them. There was a lot of red tape.
Yeah. Well, that's how you'll always be known with your.
Well, and I will say, people. So we did a Zoom meeting with them. I'm an associate publisher for the Buckhead publication, and we sat down with their chief of staff and with Martin and and his wife, her name is Andrea. I'm not saying that wrong. There's an R in there. But so we sat down with Martin and Andrea and their chief of staff, and they were just real, very real people. I was just so super impressed. I taught before this career many lives ago. I taught elementary school, mostly fifth grade, for 19 years, and the civil rights movement was a huge unit that I taught. And so, his dad has always been, one of the people I just think has really made the most impact in our country. And I love, his peaceful protest, everything his dad stood for. And I was so happy. So I didn't know before having the interview if I was going to feel the same way about him or what he was.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably really hard to be Martin Luther King Jr.'s son.
Can you imagine? Yeah. You want to talk
There's
about
a lot of pressure to live up to.
But they're great. I mean, absolutely great. And when my favorite part about the interview with them was when they started talking about their daughter. Her name's Yolanda, and they were literally talking over each other, like just proud parents, like just like, oh, and she does this and she's in this. And then, I mean, it was just, they were just gushing, and it was really neat to see that.
Oh, that's sweet. So, and you grew up in Sandy Springs, so you grew up around here. Have you learned a lot more about Dunwoody since you've been thrown into it?
When I lived, so when I was, young, I'm Atlanta native. When I was a kid, I lived in Sandy Springs, the 30342 zip code area, and then moved to Peachtree City, and then have kind of lived in a couple of different places around, but then, back to Dunwoody. And yes, to answer your question, I've learned a lot more about Dunwoody. Yeah. I kind of thought I knew Atlanta really, really well, having lived here my whole life.
Right.
But then when I moved to Dunwoody, I had always just kind of associated Dunwoody with Perimeter Mall, and I love, great mall,
it's one of the only malls still around.
Right. Or safe malls. Lennox Mall was the first to have metal detectors installed. That's their claim to fame. So
yeah,
I was very happy that Dunwoody is still, Perimeter Mall's a great mall. But I really kind of thought Dunwoody stopped there, the nightlife part and, around the perimeter versus once you get up towards, Dunwoody Village or over, to your neck of the woods. I had no idea this whole community, or what this community really was about until I.
Dunwoody can party too.
What's that?
Said Dunwoody can party too.
Yeah.
No, I mean the cool stuff
nice. I feel like the average, the jerk ratio. I feel like in most places, maybe I'm just making this up as I go here, but maybe 3 out of 10 people are just kind of jerks, like in the real world. Like Dunwoody, I think we've got a way lower ratio. I think maybe 1 out of 20.
Well, social media is probably a little bit higher, but in real life, yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, you're monitoring a page that I'm not monitoring, so I'm sure you.
I see a lot that other people.
Maybe your perception's a little different, but out in the community, everyone's just as friendly, I just feel like, and I feel so safe here. It's special to have that.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I really think it's neat what you are doing. And, what is some calls to action for people that, besides go out to your mailbox and look at the new cover, the Weber family on it?
At these beautiful cover, the Webers.
Well, how can people reach out to you about advertising?
So actually there's a couple, really big ones. And one of them has nothing to do with advertising. This has to do with the community. And this is what I'd really love to highlight here. You can, as residents, submit content. We are all about, this is truly a magazine, for the people of Dunwoody, by the people, and of the people. We tell your stories. We have just added a couple of, not in your issue, but the issue prior, we added a sports section, and we had all the rest of Dunwoody High School sports schedules listed for fall. But if you have an athlete at your house, that is, and you want them featured, there is you can submit your story about it could be your child's team. It could be one event or a game. In my Buckhead magazine, I did an article on the 4-year-old youth Atlanta Northside youth. They were 4-year-old t-ball team.
Yeah.
And it was just the mom and who is the coach's wife submitting their little names and said that that their goals this year were to not make angels in the outfield dust and to not all run to the ball. So you don't have to be a gifted writer, to write these pieces, but just if you want everyone likes to see their child in a magazine. I mean, who doesn't? Yeah. So we would really love some sports content submitted specifically. So if you I know you coach your sons in soccer, I would love to tell about their team.
Yeah, and some of the schools, I can connect you with some of the people around the schools too, especially like the middle school. There's a lot of cool, sports type stuff that's going around.
And our sports content is the easiest to submit. There's literally a bvmsports.com website, and you can submit material through there. And just be sure that you include Dunwoody Neighbors as the title of the magazine you're submitting for. But, there's a way to submit that way. If you do receive the publication, there's always it will tell you how to submit resident content or community content. You can submit content about events. Like you did an event. You did an article in the June issue to promote.
Oh, yeah, for the parade.
So that was an example of community content. I didn't write it, but we ran it, and it was submitted by you and your co-chair. So
and you told me that I was a good writer. I think that's the only time I've ever heard that in my entire life.
Well, you did a great job.
Yeah, I'm not good at getting my thoughts together. I'm more of a podcaster than
well, you did a great job on that piece. It was great.
But I do have some sports news, because What's Up Dunwoody won our 4th consecutive championship in the Old Man Soccer League at Brook Run last night. So I might have to send you a picture.
Oh my goodness!
It was a family affair. And it was cool. Everybody's kids were out there too.
You definitely should. We should actually. Okay. We absolutely should. We did an article. Jennifer Betcher contributed, and it's been a while back. And it was like the summer sporting leagues, the adult sporting leagues in Dunwoody, and we talked about cornhole and flag football through the Parks and Rec. Yeah. But I didn't know anything about the adult.
Yeah, Rush Union's done a really good job with that new Brook Run field. Yeah, and they've got a couple of adult leagues that are playing, and obviously all the kids are always out there.
Well, I would so that's the kind of thing that we'd love to be able to publish, because that people might not just know it exists.
Yeah. And I'll get you in touch with them too.
Yeah, and it's a super easy thing. Like registration begins here for this season. Just to get that in there as a blurb to for people to see in the sports section. That would be great.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see where you go with this, because I think this is really cool, and it's very similar to what I'm doing. So maybe that's why I think it's cool. But
well, I
think you actually get paid for this, and whereas I don't.
Well, I get paid for it, but right now I'm still in Dunwoody really focused on the content and getting that built up. But sponsors, of course, we need you and appreciate you so much. So I would love to ask any of you that do receive the publication to, show our sponsors how much we do appreciate them, because we would not be able to do this without them. And we won't be able
or tell them that you saw them in that magazine.
Yes,
I think that's just as important.
Yes.
I love it when people walk into Village Orthodontics and they'll say, "Hey, I heard about you on the podcast."
Exactly.
It actually shows that they're getting something out of the sponsorship.
That is huge. All of the reader, even if you, because we're not designed to be a coupon cutter magazine.
Right.
There's not going to be a, hey, scan this barcode for 20% off. That's just not our format. And so by y'all telling them, hey, I saw your ad in the Dunwoody Neighbors. It looks really good. Thanks. Thanks for let them know you appreciate the magazine, because that's the only way they know that it's working for them, because there's not it's very difficult to track marketing accurately, so yes, please.
When there's not clicks, it is very difficult to figure out where things are coming from.
Digital campaigns, but they don't promote, they only promote the sponsor. We don't put Dunwoody Neighbors all over it. So if they're getting clicked through that and they're seeing that aspect, they don't know if it's from their own feed. Do you know what I'm saying? The digital, we're not promoting ourselves. So when they're clicking, that's not showing them it's through us. So by just telling them, thank you for your sponsorship, I saw your ad, that's huge. That would be really.
And it is a little strange that you guys aren't doing anything digital. Is that just because you want people to actually get the magazine?
Well, so there's several reasons behind that from Best Version Media. One of them is that, like I mentioned, we did the article on the 4-year-old T-ball team. We're having names. We have, since we do residents, a lot of times your photo shoot. Sometimes we do like off site photo shoots, but like when we did the Sock family, there's is on their front porch, and some people just we don't want to disclose
blast
to everyone where people live.
That makes sense.
We have children's names in these. It's not a lifestyle magazine to where you're like, Simply Buckhead is a great magazine, totally different format. It's your guide to living well in Buckhead. So it's like it's not about children's little league teams. So we don't have an online version because we don't want to have to. We'd have to have lots of releases signed every single month. We would have to limit our content. It would not be as hyper local and hyper focused. And so there's no online version of the magazine. I am in the process of doing talking with my company about doing a Facebook group that's, or not group, but just a Facebook page that's.
I was going to say, watch yourself, Stacey.
No.
I'm just joking.
Stay in your lane. But it wouldn't be a group, but a Facebook page that people can post on, so I could post your cover, but I'm just not great about, I know I wouldn't make a post every day. And I don't want it to be a group that I'm having to monitor like what you're doing.
It's time consuming for
sure.
That's,
how many? 7,000, 6,000?
Yeah, there's probably, I think 6 in one and 7 in one. It's a lot of people.
And that's too much for me to manage.
Right? It's too much for me to manage too.
And I don't, but
well,
I do.
The magazine's great. We can just stick with the magazine for now.
Yes, thank you. You may have a Facebook page soon. But anyway.
But, I think this is really cool what you're doing. And so I'm glad you came on, and I appreciate it. And thanks for putting us on the cover this month. That was really, really fun for the whole family. And I did not think that my wife and one of my kids would enjoy it at all, but they really did too. So.
You guys look gorgeous. You look like rock stars. I will.
Yeah, we got to do the photo shoot at Brook Run, which was neat.
Yeah, and even one thing, I'm going to just. Well, I might brag about it if I can get to it. And look at the pooch.
Yeah.
Gotta show the dog.
And the soccer team pick. The soccer team was excited that they got in the photo too.
I'm so glad, but I do. I really loved telling the story of Dunwoodians.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks so much, Stacey.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you're here.
And I appreciate the warm welcome from you and from
Dunwoody in general is just taking you in.
Dunwoody, it's really been a great thing. I'm looking forward. I go back to Good Day Atlanta in January to discuss the MLK feature, and hope this just continues to grow.
Yeah.
And
make Dunwoody look good.
Absolutely. Yes, that's right.
All right. Well, thanks, Stacey.
Thank you so much, Matt.